Same time.
And we are live again. Yay!
Ah,
Yay.
there's a pretty picture of Kikyo I just saw.
Yeah,
Wait, what?
Right over your head.
Well, I know. Everything goes over my head. Also, that is an adorable Chi-Chi I just saw. Gosh dang it, she used to be so pretty when she was young.
she really did though.
Hang on. Hi, Yuri.
Guys, I got it. Okay. Anyway.
Oh.
Anyway.
Anyway, what's up, people in chat?
Yeah, what's up,
Woo!
people?
Woo!
Snack, I always forget that you Ketsu.
Uh,
You'll get used to it.
It's so weird to myself. I sound weird. Matt,
what?
I sound
Wait, you sound what?
weird. It's weird hearing myself.
Oh. I mean, I used to think I was weird sounding.
I mean, does my voice sound weird to you or no?
No?
Sounds fine to me.
Mm-hmm.
Also, everyone's weird in their own way.
Anyway,
Yeah, a little bit.
let's go back to working on my. Oops! My Homestuck character.
Yeah, just ask me.
You're
You're
all
always weird. You're always weird, you scrub.
What? Why do you constantly call me a scrub?
Because you are one.
Ow.
We're all a little weird.
Fair enough. Hey.
You're our scrub.
Yep.
Fair enough.
But
Whee! Whee!
and like I said earlier in chat, I actually really am glad bringing back the Yamuna series.
Hey, at least you're talking to us in VC.
I hear a dog barking.
That would be my side.
Ah,
I'm just walking to
Yep.
my house. You know, it's got Emma barking crazy.
guys, I'll be right back.
Okay,
Alright.
snacky snack.
Oh, goddamn it, car.
How do you trip over a mushroom?
What
Kicking
the
the
hell? That's
stem?
random. What the
I don't know.
heck? That's random.
You're gonna find my character weird.
Like, I know mushrooms are slippy. The last thing I remember, they ain't that sleepy. Sleepy. Sleep. Slippy. Slipper. Slippery.
You doing alright, Max?
Yeah, I'm fine. May or may not be mentally drained at the moment. That's probably why I
Mentally
can't
Wait,
think.
you're our grandson, right?
Yep.
All right. There you go.
Ugh. Did I say mentally drained wrong again?
No.
Hmm.
You stop that. I am not, apparently, according to Sebi, I'm not allowed to sleep. Even though I have to be awake at 3 in the morning to go driving for 6 hours. Fucking a-hole.
Zebby, stop being a butthole or I'll suck your dick. I mean,
What?
What?
Oh my god.
Family friendly. Family
I'm
friendly.
sorry, I
There went
forgot.
that. There went that.
Guys, I'm sorry, I forgot.
Did you
There
say
went the
Ah.
family
How
friendly.
did you forget we were in stream?
I'm sorry, I
There went
didn't
the
mean
family
it.
friendly. There went the family friendly.
There with the
I feel
family
bad.
Well, then again, what the fuck we talking about? Fucking Homestuck ain't family friendly.
No.
and
Now I feel bad.
It's
And this
okay,
is
Max.
why-
You're fine,
Exactly.
Max. God.
Were you just about to say, and this is why we can't have nice things, Lux?
No. I was gonna say, and this is how I adopted the habit of keeping my mouth shut because I know I'm always gonna say something wrong.
Well, here you're not gonna say anything wrong.
I know.
And besides, I won't let you be quiet.
She will not.
I know, but I've been quiet for so long now and nobody said a thing, so haha.
You know what? Y'all want to hear something funny that my mom did? So I had just got finished eating, and then my friend says, "Are you gonna save some room for cheese sticks?" And I'm like, "Why?" It's like, "Cause your mom's bringing home cheese." I'm like, "Well, now you tell me." I just got done eating, and now I gotta eat more.
I would
No,
be
it's-
complaining.
Wait, is it cheese sticks from a pizza place?
Mark, it might be the kind that I was eating. I ate about a few days ago.
What type were they?
It's just a big old thing of cheesy bread.
Oh, then yeah, it's most likely gonna be a pizza.
I'm gonna go see if that's actually what she got, because if that is, then I'm bringing the whole thing in here.
Oh my god. Just like me, son. Because when I get
I'll
Little
be back.
Caesars Italian garlic cheese bread pizza, I just take the whole thing to my room.
Just the fact
Because
that Lux is just.
I'm no longer like I don't give it. I was just about to say the F word, but I stopped myself.
10 out of 10, Kanye.
Hey, at least I stopped.
Just
I
that.
stopped. I
Just
stopped
that-
beforehand.
Just
Oy
that.
vey.
Just that I said the F word, but I stopped myself. What's that, Hokage?
I don't know.
Hey, oh no. Wait, is Trey in here?
He's up.
Oh, okay,
I
he's
don't
muted.
know.
Don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, he's in
I'm
here.
still here.
No,
Yeah,
but
there he is.
Okay, so Trey. Oh
Hmm?
my God, Rin. Remember me and you and Lily talking last night?
Yeah.
Remember what we were saying, and then I think you said something along the lines of, "I'm glad Hokage's not in here." And I'm just like, why? And then she's like, we're talking about cactus, and I'm just like, oh shit, you're right.
All right.
No, that was you. That was you. That wasn't me.
No, you said too bad Hokage's not in here.
Yeah.
You're the one that said too bad Hokage's not in here. Just like,
Yeah, I think it was. No, no.
not again.
Somebody had to open their mouths, didn't they?
Well, I'm sorry, okay? I miss little Jorge.
I am
Oh,
so
no,
glad I'm a
Jorge's back.
mute.
Oh no, Jorge, no! Jorge, there's a mountain.
Oh my gosh.
Jorge, that is a mountain. Hold on, wait a minute. And there he goes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my god, where's Trey?
And this is where let's leave the chat and head towards the exit. Good night, everybody.
Oh, Aaron's like, I'll let you escape that easily.
Yuri's just like, what is going on here?
You're the only thing you need to know is that little Jorge is a character that I've made only because of one thing Trey has done in Fortnite.
Fortnite!
The story behind little Jorge's birth is that Trey was playing Fortnite, got rushed by two people to where he backed up into a cactus without knowing, and so that required the court system and Trey needed a lawyer, and it was little Jorge, the cactus lawyer, whose currency is. I'm not gonna say one of his forms of currency, but the other two are burritos and tacos. And his mode of transportation is farting.
Well,
He catches himself in the net. What the hell?
you know, remember when I said I think she might have got me a whole entire big thing of cheesy bread?
Yeah.
Yep.
You were right.
She did.
Oh my god. Well, enjoy the constipation later, Max.
Oh, I will.
No, but the fact that... Hold on. Max!
Yeah.
Max!
Yes, Aaron.
Jorge has made a comeback.
Oh, Jesus.
Jorge. Oh my god! I just realized when I say hello as Jorge, I'm doing the Kirby hello.
He just now notices this.
It's the first time I've said hello as Jorge.
I love how no one is literally questioning us right now.
I mean, Yuri in chat asked what's going on here.
Yeah,
I
because...
that's
question
why
a
I gave
lot
the-
of
That's why I gave the small story of Jorge's birth.
I question a lot of beep, but I really don't give a beep about it.
Oh my god.
Did you
Hey.
really
He
just
self-beeped.
bleep yourself?
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did.
Yep.
Because unlike you, Max, they're trying to make this video family friendly, even though Homestuck's not.
Yeah, because I
family-friendly.
almost would have said the F word, like, but I stopped myself.
You should have heard fucking Hokage when he went to stop himself. He sang it. He literally
Like
sang it.
I was, what was I saying? I was like, I don't give. I almost said the F word, but I stopped myself. That's how I did it. That's literally what I did.
Oy vey.
Lux, you be quiet. You love our weird asses.
I do. But still, oy vey.
But sometimes we still give him headaches. Me especially with some of the voices.
You know what?
Yes, I know.
need to go get me some napkins. So I'll be right.
Hey, Jorge.
Yes.
I'll give you a lifetime warranty of burritos and tacos and that other thing if you are my lawyer.
It's a hurry, so I will be your lawyer.
For the rest of your eternity. Oh my god, what is wrong with my life?
In other words, what? My life. Hi. For the love of bleeping. This is annoying.
Okay, so. Okay.
Okay.
Oh god,
Come on.
Okay, I'm back with napkins.
Movies is the thing.
I just spoke in Jorge's language.
I'm a
Jorge, I
bleeper.
just spoke in your language.
Oh, you did? Congratulations.
Jorge.
Yes. Oh god, yeah, this should make me think of the one episode of SpongeBob where it's in the abyss.
Oh god, that
You know
headache
what
of
I'm
an
talking
episode.
about. Those abyss dwellers just always made fart sounds to speak.
Oh, that godforsaken
Even the one that
episode.
slightly knew how to speak normal is just paused every single time to do.
I'm done.
Hey, murder me, somebody. Oh yeah, I forgot I already had others. Whoops. Oh well.
Okay. Sorry, I had to grab a...
What do you know? I actually hadn't overmade so
I'm so glad I actually got these. So I needed some of these napkins. Because
That's all of them. Ah, so that's why I named his thing that. Okay. Oh boy. Makes sense. That's a jar.
And apparently, according to the booze, Trump has the idea of launching nukes at hurricanes.
At where?
Trump has the stupid idea of launching nukes at
We're not supposed to talk
hurricanes.
about that in the stream, remember?
Sorry.
I asked, so
Even though this has already been brought up a few days ago.
I literally just asked. Calm your damn fucking tatas.
Calm your tatas,
As-
Sebby.
Scarlet got herself banned.
As my darling Nia would put it, calm your tuna matatas.
Oh, what'd she do?
Apparently,
Oh. Hey,
I will say it in chat.
hang on, guys.
Eh. Does my thing really take not that much battery power again? I mean, it probably is. I don't even.
Everyone hug Kylie.
Hello?
What's up, boy? Mark, mute yourself on the Discord. Sanoger is in the game. Wait,
I'm in a stream.
I'll give a fuck.
Okay, I'm kind of worried about. Okay, like I am not gonna lie, I'm kind of worried about that.
Oh, Kage?
Yeah, I'm worried about that.
She'll be fine.
I muted because my brother was in the room.
Ah,
Like, why the hell was he yelling at you?
right?
He was talking about Monster Hunter Legends and how Zenoga was brought into the game, but I muted because he was dropping F-bombs.
Good.
Well, it's a good thing you muted.
Because I probably would have ended up saying something, even though he probably wouldn't have liked it.
I told him that your channel is a low sub count and could be an easy target for YouTube to terminate, and he said, well, I don't care.
Well, he better care because I'll come after him.
What's going on?
Aaron,
And you
that is
know it.
Aaron, that is
Now
a
what happened?
Mm.
And it was just my older
Off,
brother
damn it.
coming into the room.
Says, hey, by the way, Matt, in the Kylie server.
That is a
Of
cute
what?
picture of Midoriya. That is a cute picture of Izumi.
That's not Izumi.
Oh,
You know
then
what? I'll just tell Max in the D.
who is that?
It's my Homestuck OC.
Oh,
So,
gotcha.
what did
Either way,
what
it's
happened?
cute.
Because I didn't get to hear Hokage.
His brother was being a jerk, basically.
That is a cute picture.
Brother and
I like
sister
it
never had
a
to
lot.
This is just my signature thing.
Is there comments in the chat that I'm not seeing?
No? No one's
Yeah, the last person that commented.
You did.
Okay.
By the way, Max. Max,
Wait, what?
look what Caboose said.
In Kylie's server?
Yeah, in Kylie's server about that, you know what?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, can we not talk about that, please?
I just said, you know what? I'm not talking about it.
I'm just saying.
We just don't worry about it. Let's focus on the stream.
Yep.
I'm just telling you.
I know. Like I said, we're just gonna focus on the stream. Right, guys?
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
Got hair in my mouth. Yeah. Kylie.
How do I say this? It's only a prediction, not a confirmation, right?
Basically.
Prediction, confirmation, yes.
Yeah.
So, like, prediction, it's not a confirmation of how the world actually turned out. So the hurricane may not be as terrible as said prediction. So wait until confirmation.
Exactly.
What the heck did he just say that he deleted?
I deleted it.
What did he say?
Wait, what?
Nothing, Max.
Okay.
Boop the heck out of you.
Excuse me.
So apparently Yuri lives in Texas.
Okay.
That would be right back.
Alright.
Alright.
What's up?
Ooh, Umbreon.
Where?
Kylie's.
Oh, sweet.
Oh,
Damn
never
it.
mind. Well, it's the chat.
Yeah.
Snack, I could give you one of my Umbreon.
Ah.
I'm good. Besides,
Okay.
I've already caught an Umbreon, named it Teddy, and
Oh my god, my freaking shoot.
I've already caught an Umbreon, named it Steady, and leveled it up to 100. So. Yes, Sebi is level.
Sure.
And
Hey.
yeah, Incineroar I have. Aaron. Aaron the Incineroar are named after level 100.
Ah.
Damn it, Rico.
Exactly. Trump is. I think during string still.
Oh God, my fucking armpit itches.
Oh, okay.
Then Ratchet. Also, who's watching?
I
Wait,
think
what?
that'd be Max.
Max, are you watching football?
It's the final preseason game before regular season sometime next
Hang on
week.
again, guys.
So.
I will be right back.
I
Boop the max.
wait, what?
Boop the max.
Oh,
Boop the max.
yeah.
Boop the max.
What?
Endlessly boops the max.
Max, take the boots. Accept our love, damn it. Also, guys, look at the link I posted in the chat with you.
I almost clicked on a photo that would have got me in trouble. Woo.
Excuse me.
Did you just... Never mind. Oh my god.
I know a pawn and a fool do not count as that bad.
Well, now.
Pounds. I said pounds instead of pawn.
Hey.
You know what? You know what? Head patch there.
Okay. I'm gonna do a few photos. There are seriously only 3 people watching my stream again. No way.
I'm still there.
Shout out raid.
I'm still there too.
Hold on, let me.
Same.
I have an idea.
What do I need to do another goddamn story?
Mm. Ah. Ah. Oh, I think this might be making me sick a little bit. Oh.
You okay, Matt?
Still eating this. I might end up actually having to save the rest of this Marco's cheesy bread.
Then save it for later, otherwise you're gonna make yourself sick.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll be right.
Hey.
Mm.
And yes, I did just call Kratos, so I don't care. Shut up.
I'm not saying a word.
Okay, I'm back. Oh, I don't feel good.
Then down.
Oh.
What'd you give her? 7?
Hey, that's the Aaron.
Ah.
I'm turning my fan on, even though I said it was cold earlier. I'm gonna put it back on. I also, in about an hour or two, I might go take a shower.
Okay.
I need to take one so bad.
Right now, I'm just gonna stay in here and talk for a bit, and then I think about 8:27 maybe I'll go take a shower. It's 7:27 right now for me.
Hugs to Max.
I sound like I just ran through a marathon. Hugs back.
Nee.
Well then.
What?
Oh, nothing. Saw a picture of hers.
No.
Very suggestive one. But anyway.
And I'm on Twitter and looking at rather sure of uh Panther.
You don't have the power, buddy. Sorry.
Huh?
I'm talking to Yuri.
Oh.
Who doesn't have the power?
Yuri.
Hey. Bless you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, but that was a.
Yep.
Oops.
Hmm? You okay, hon?
No.
What's wrong?
Loud noises.
Hmm.
As much as I don't want to, I'm.
Dang it.
Nice stretch there.
No, that wasn't a stretch.
I don't want to know. If I don't want to know, I don't want to know.
Let's just say this. Lux, I hate you. Is he even in here? He's here, but he's muted.
Oh, I didn't. Sorry, I didn't think I was muted. My bad.
He pulled a snack. Snack. He pulled a you.
Okay, what are you hating me for now, Max?
What you posted in my exotic area in my server.
Oh.
Oops.
Well, man up and enjoy it.
I did not mean to do that. I had that something. It happened. Arr.
Who left?
That was Sebby.
Okay. Oh gosh, dang it!
What'd you do?
No, I saw who Riku got in the mood I bought. Oh,
Who did he
freaking
get?
May from
Oh.
freaking Avatar. You mother fricker. Getting an image that if I start doing what I bought right now, I'm gonna end up getting somebody freaking from Avatar, but it's not gonna be May. Like freaking Qatar or something.
There's nothing wrong with Katara.
Well, I didn't say there was anything wrong with her.
Oi. Excuse me. Jesus.
I'm not getting characters I don't even know.
Oh, well, that's who's on the roll, buddy. Well, we just rolled a Cyber from the Watcher, or Witcher.
Oh wait,
Poppy.
Hokage.
Didn't know Poppy was a waifu.
Okay, I'm gonna beat you up.
Well, he's giving you a thing.
Thank you. Still a butthole for that, by the way.
Relax,
Oh,
Matt.
wait.
He gave it to you.
Yeah, need that too.
Jesus.
Eh.
You'd read. Fuck.
Well, dang. Oh well.
Darn it.
What the heck, Snack? What are you sending me? No, butthole. Oh, by the way, Snack, if you don't know, you're muted.
You know you love me, Max.
I hate you.
No, you don't.
I hate you.
I had to
No,
grab her.
you don't.
That's okay.
Hey, Aaron,
Yes.
forgot to post your CL server.
I posted it.
I didn't see it in the promoting.
It's above Kylie's thing.
Oh.
I see what you did, Aaron.
What?
Flame Princess.
Hey, I've seen Flame Prince enough, but I don't like him that much.
Max, you know
Fair.
you love me.
No. I hate you.
Max.
Butthole.
Whatever. You say that now, but
What the heck is that?
Guys, I'm gonna end stream here. God.
What did you roll, sis?